Hello everyone and welcome back to the Deep Thinking YouTube channel, a YouTube channel where we discuss and speculate about the deepest thoughts regarding our universe, and in today's video we're going to be discussing more universe theories and more specifically how the universe may have began with the Big Bang and what may have caused the Big Bang, and also what may have occurred before the Big Bang. Also we're going to be discussing how the universe may ultimately come to its conclusion and what may happen to the human species in the future, maybe before this, or whether we will live till the potential end and ultimate conclusion of the universe, as well as some of the unseen aspects of reality. So this could include other dimensions or beings that are outside of the human comprehension because of the tools that we've been given to comprehend this reality we exist within. So without further ado, we're going to get into this video and we're going to start off with the discussion of the Big Bang, the start of the expansion of the universe, and basically did something cause it? Did some form of deity or some form of future human civilization create some form of simulation? Or was it created by a deity? Or was it just a natural occurrence? And is it an ongoing occurrence? Will it be an expansion and retraction type universe? Or is the universe just going to continue to expand exponentially until the heat death of the universe takes over and realistically there is nothing but practically nothing in the universe anymore other than just black dwarves? You know, all the light of the galaxies and stars will have gone out, so essentially that kind of stuff will not be around anymore, so what we class as the living universe will be dead. And towards the end of human civilization, if we live so long, they might not even know that there was other planets and stars and so on and so forth, just depending on how much information lasts into the future, because we don't know if we're going to be hit into any great resets of the civilization, whether different civilizations will take over in the future. You know, we may not be known about in 3,000 years, 4,000 years, because other processes happened that, you know, disrupted the way of life of humans on the planet, and it caused us to lose our history, which is probably something that can happen before. The reason I say so is because we do not think that any civilizations lived in the Amazon rainforest, but then it was discovered that a civilization of 1 million people lived in the Amazon rainforest and were all basically just killed off pretty much by the same kind of disease, which is very bizarre to think. We went from not thinking that anyone was there at all to a 1 million civilization being there, and there was literally they viewed it, and some of the ancient philosophers and explorers of the time, they viewed the civilization, but it was just thought to be some kind of maybe a hallucination, or just they saw a different civilization at a different period of time and it wasn't exactly where they were saying it, but it turns out it was where they were describing it, so things can be a little different. But we're getting a little bit sidetracked because we're supposed to be talking about the Big Bang. The Big Bang is called a bang, but essentially all it is the beginning of the expansion of space from its original nothingness pinhead size, and now it begins to expand. And we did believe many years in the past that the expansion of the universe was not continuing to accelerate and become faster and faster over time. This is something that we've discovered, and now we think to ourselves, is it going to slow down, or will it keep just expanding exponentially? If it does slow down, will we be in that expansion and retraction type universe where there's a Big Bang, universe expands to a certain point, then it starts to retract after a certain point, then expands, retracts, maybe starting whole new universes off, or maybe it's a repetition of the same universe. It would all just be dependent on whether that is a thing, whether it's some kind of eternal loop, or how it could just be a constant timeline that just keeps going and keeps going, because it's basically just all how we comprehend it, because our comprehension of something is purely based on the human experience and the experience of the reality that we have been shown and through the senses that we have and information that we've gathered over time. So we're of course going to have biases towards thinking things are going to be the different ways that we think they might be, but we can come to the best conclusion that we can possible, because we can only comprehend what we can comprehend and we can only control what we can control. So it's best to look at it in that kind of way. If you're asking me as a person what I do believe that there could be multiple Big Bangs. What I mean by this is, but what occurred before the Big Bang was another universe, but this Big Bang caused another universe to open up, or maybe even destroyed that previous universe, and a new universe is created from it, and we live in a cycle of many different universes, or just a recycling universe. I would say it's more likely that there is multiple universes, but that just depends how much stock you put in the multiverse theory, because I guess it depends. Are we just on one infinite plane of existence, or is it just multiple universes? Because it's hard to ask. Is it the sort of thing where, like a galaxy, you don't really enter and exit a galaxy until you're there? Because think, when you're so far out from a galaxy, like when we look at the Andromeda Galaxy or the Sombrero Galaxy, we're seeing it as looking like the Sombrero. Do you know what I mean? And like what we look like the Spiral Galaxy from a distance. But when you're getting close, you see all of these stars, and it looks, the shift in perspective is different, because you feel like rather than being outside of it, you're in it at that point. But it's not really like you travel into something or out of something. But perhaps this is what it's like for a universe, where you don't bridge over into some other reality, some other dimension. It's all just on one plane of existence that's infinite. But that's all just a question about the infinite universe and the multiverse, which I guess is essentially a topic of speculation when you're talking about the beginnings of the universe and also the potential end to the universe. It's all dependent with the end of the universe, when all the stars and galaxies stop forming. This is what is dependent, because this is how we get our resources. This is how these, think about it, this is all of this stuff that's been happening in the universe must have happened in a certain way for the human species to come along. Because if you go back, just like with the butterfly effect with anything, there was points in the history, even before the planet existed, that if something didn't happen the way that it did, then the planet wouldn't have came around, and the human species wouldn't have came around, and now we wouldn't be here to be having this conversation on this video right now at this very moment. Which is very, very peculiar to think about. Thinking about stuff outside of your reference point of reality, so thinking of it from your, let's say, 4 generations that might exist at one time within a person's lifespan. At one time, obviously, you might see like 6 generations of people or something in your life, including yourself, but realistically, you're only going to see about 4 at a time, maybe 3 at a time. But outside of that reference point, you can't. The more you go back, the more it's just like, okay, if they didn't do this, if they didn't move on to this point of the country that you live in, or if they didn't travel to a different place, members of your family wouldn't have met, and then that would now mean that you wouldn't exist. So there's lots of causalities in the universe that cause things to happen, cause you to be here. That's why I believe that there is a lot of meaning behind stuff, and that's why I do believe that this was created. But I don't necessarily believe in the religion type stuff. Like, I don't really know. I can never say I'm 100% concrete in my beliefs. I do believe that there is something after this existence. I do believe that there's stuff outside of this existence, purely just from the sheer size of the universe, the sheer mind-bendingness of reality, the sheer amount of things that we cannot comprehend. I always look at it this way. A dog sees the universe in a different way than you do. They see it in different colors. They see it in different senses than we do as well. Like, some of their senses are more heightened than ours. And that's what it's like for all different beings. And this is just beings on this planet. Imagine what many beings out there in the cosmos could be like if there is many more beings out there in the cosmos, which it seems like, with the statistical likelihood that there actually is more beings out there in the cosmos, depending on the intelligence of them. That's a whole nother topic of discussion, but that's not something that we're addressing today. But ask yourself about the ending of the universe. What makes the most sense to you? Do you believe a big rip style scenario where just one ripple in time just causes the destruction of the universe? What about a false vacuum? We exist in a false vacuum state, and then eventually it's going to go to the universe is going to shift and go to the true vacuum state, which will then cause the destruction of this universe that we know. All the fundamental natures of the universe, the fundamental nature of physics, it'll all be destroyed, and it'll all change up and mess up, and then likely destroy the universe and us, along with everything else in the universe as well. There's also, of course, probably the most attractive theory to most people, which is the heat death of the universe. This is, of course, due to the universe's expansion. Everything just gets too far away from each other. Eventually, all of the stars and galaxies die out, and galaxies and stars stop being produced. Then everything just goes dark, and as we said before, we just live in a dark abyss of a universe, but we wouldn't be living, unfortunately. But all of this, I just say to myself, does life end? Does it end at this place, or will there be other existences going on in other timelines, other realities? And is time a linear thing, or is it more of a circular thing? Is it something that we can access the past? If we try to access the past, we know we can access the future, because if we travel closer to the speed of light, then we're traveling, relatively at faster times, and realistically we will jump into the future, but people will have aged at the same rate that they were aging on Earth, but you'll have aged at a different rate because of the speed that you were going. So essentially we can technically jump into the future. Can we jump into the past? Can we view the past? Is it a linear thing, or is it... I've heard it described as time is as a stream. We cannot swim back up because the current is too strong, but there may be ways of getting back up that stream. Who knows? There may be ways of powering through that stream, or there may not be, and that may be one of the biggest things about reality. I would myself, if you're asking me to say about backwards time travel, I would say that it would open up another dimension, open up an alternate reality, a pathway reality. So you go back to the moment of where it was, and that automatically opens up a branch timeline where all the effects that you make in that timeline go off that way, and then your timeline continues to go off where you get to the point where you went back in time, and that would create the new timeline. That's what I personally think it would be, if that's what it was going to be, but it's rather strange. So tell me this, do you guys believe that there is beings that are outside of the human comprehension? Do you believe that there is realities outside of the human comprehension? Things that we cannot hope to know or study at this moment in time, because at least we don't know anything or have any reference point on what to study at this point. Because think about all the stuff that we've been studying over the past 100 years. People 300, 400 years ago would have had no idea about the fact that we would have been studying these things. This is what this information would have opened up for us, and there would have been all these subsections of study. So you can't hope to know what's going to be there in 400 years in the future, because of the technological progression is at a much faster rate these days. So that's something you have to ask yourself. Do you believe that you know what the future is? You probably don't, and you can't hope to know what the future is going to hold for you. So it's the best to just speculate and try and have a fun time with speculating and discussing some of the ideas about reality, and then backing these very, very intelligent scientists and idealists who are trying to show us a good trajectory for the future. Hopefully, let's hope that they have a good agenda behind them, not just the funding, because we want to just have great discoveries for the human species that can prolong us and give us the best lives possible. Hell, let's hope that we can extend this universe so we can live for longer. Peace out, my hobies. That's what I say. Yeah, anyway, I am actually going right now because I've been yapping on for way too long, but I appreciate you also very much for sticking by and listening to me ramble on about some more universe theories. I've had a really great time in this video. If you enjoy this one and you wanted me to talk about other subjects to do with the beginnings and endings and other unseen aspects of the universe, or any other topics you would like me to discuss about history, about crime, about psychology, anything like that, anything about the human psyche, anything about the human experience, anything about animals and other human societies and the things that we evolved from, and the periods of time over history and what that can help us to decipher from it and learn to progress into the best future possible. So yes, I thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. I appreciate you all so very, very, very much. Peace out. Goodbye, my homies.